Hello, everyone. So today I have Antonio Sanjo with me. Antonio, would you like to introduce yourself to
Yes, thank
everyone
you. Thank you,
watching?
Brigita, for having me. Thank you. It is a pleasure. Well, my name is Antonio Sanjo. I practice and teach introspective hypnosis, among other techniques that I practice, but I only teach introspective hypnosis. I live in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm originally from Peru, South America, but I live in the US. Other techniques I practice is quantum healing hypnosis technique, Life Between Lives by Michael Newton, and Past Life Therapy by Jose Luis Cabulli.
Awesome. And Antonio has one book out already, which is in the background. Would you
Oh,
like to
thank you.
talk about this a little bit?
Sure. So the title of my book is My Soul's Purpose, and I talk in the book. I talk about my journey and how it changed my life, how I ran into hypnosis, how I found my purpose as practicing hypnosis, helping not only my clients, which are incarnated souls, but also disincarnated ones, right? What we call spirit attachment, lost souls. That is how I found my mission. I'm sharing a little bit of my journey, but at the same time, I'm sharing cases, I'm sharing concepts of spirituality. And my idea is to motivate those that want to start this path of being what we call ourselves light workers. We're here to be at the service of others. And my book was written for that purpose, to encourage people to follow this path. Mhm.
Yes. And since I started talking about introspective hypnosis on my channel, I started getting quite a lot of messages asking about you because I'd mentioned you from time to time.
Thank
So
you.
I'm going to ask you, questions a little bit more about introspective hypnosis a bit later
Sure.
on. I'll also be sharing my experience that I had with you. I have booked a
Okay.
session with Antonio myself. But before that, I would like to kind of backtrack and ask you a little bit about how your life looked like, what kind of career you had, and how you transitioned into introspective
Oh,
or hypnosis, because you didn't start with
okay.
introspective.
Yeah, that is a long story. I first studied. I entered university to study business administration because that's what my father was telling me. He said, "You need to be a business administrator. You need to take care of our business, our company." So that's what I did. But when I was up, in Peru is 5 years. After 2.5 years, I noticed that this is not what I wanted. This is not what I wanted to do in life. I didn't see myself sitting behind a desk, you know. So I left that, and then I didn't know what I liked. When people told me I like my job and I like what I do, to me it didn't make sense because I had not found anything that I really liked back then. Then I started with computers and networks. So I started to be a systems engineer, computers and networks, and that's what I did for some time until um, December 31st, 2018, when I decided to switch to hypnosis full time. Um, I learned hypnosis in 2013, starting with Dolores Cannon, and I was practicing after hours. So I was working my full-time job, 8:30 to 5, or 5:30 sometimes, and then after hours, I would be facilitating sessions or on the weekends or during my vacation time. So that's what I was doing until the moment that in 2008, um, I was already teaching classes, but it was the first live class and big class, and we did it with Alba Weinman, my friend and colleague. And I was transformed during that week. And not only with what I experienced teaching to a big crowd, we were over 40 people in the class, but we received the gift of healing. Two of the demo sessions, people obtained healing right in front of everybody. And I taught that class during one of my vacation weeks. And when it was time to go back to work on Monday, I turned on my computer. I had this overwhelming feeling like it was telling me, "What are you doing?" And I was not paying attention to it. There was a voice telling me, "What are you doing? You're here to do things that have more meaning, not just we working in front of a computer," because that's what I was doing. I didn't listen to it. I mean, I Actually, it took me 2 or 3 days to start paying attention to that because I was getting sick, I was getting headaches, back pain. And it got to a point where I said, I surrender. That's it. I cannot keep doing this anymore. I cannot keep fighting this anymore. I'll accept. I'll do whatever I have to do. If I make a mistake, if it's a mistake, then I can look for another job. I had been working for this company for 12 years, right? I look for another job, but I prefer to make this change now than wait until I'm 65 or retire and said, oh, I should have made that change back then. So I trusted the universe, and my life and the life of my family changed completely. We started with the classes. Alba was assisting in some of these classes. We were both teaching these classes from time to time. I kept doing the online classes, online sessions. We started traveling to different countries until COVID hit. But yeah, that's what I was doing. I mean, if you want to know how I got into hypnosis, it was a different story.
What is that story like?
Okay, so I was always exposed to metaphysical topics through my father, and I explained that in my book. My father was reading different books. One of the ones that I remember the most was Many Lives, Many Masters by Brian Weiss. And he was talking to me about reincarnation. He was talking to me about what the book was saying, right? And even though I was not paying that much attention, in my mind, I had no doubt of that concept. It made complete sense to me. But my mother is very religious. She's Catholic, and I was raised in a Catholic school. So even though my religion was telling me that doesn't exist, deep inside of me, it said, oh, this makes sense. It makes sense. But I didn't pay attention to that. Then when my mother-in-law passed away, my wife came back because we went to Peru. She came back and she brought some of her books. I'm talking about years and years ago, right? I mean, we're talking about the time when my father read that book and the time that I got the book that used to belong to my mother-in-law had been past many years. And it was the same book, Many Lives, Many Masters. My wife said, oh, I brought this book. Maybe you find it helpful. And I started reading that book, and I read it in one day. And after I was done with that book, I said, this is what I want to do. So I started searching online. That's how I ran first into Aurelio Mejia. I watched a lot of his videos. But he was not training back then. He was not teaching classes. I was not able to travel to Colombia back then because I was working my full-time job. So I started with Dolores Cannon. A friend of mine told me about Dolores Cannon. So I trained with Dolores Cannon, level 1, level 2. I met Alba Wyman in the level 2 class. But then I was able to, destiny, I guess, I was able to host Aurelio Mejia here in Charlotte in my house for 6 days. And that's how I learned what he was not calling it introspective hypnosis, but that's what I learned. I learned the method from him, and then I've been making adjustments as I learned more things. I implemented more things. I changed the style a little bit, but it's basically the same concept. That's how I ran into hypnosis and past lives and dealing with lost souls and all that.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you said that because I was about to ask you a question. Was there some sort of tie or something that happened in your younger days? Because at least what I'm observing from people around me, I see that there is a connection to what people's mission is somewhere in the childhood. They came across something, they used to like doing something, they lost it, they came back to it.
Well, when I was like 23, 24, I actually got divorced from my wife back then, who is my wife now, because we got divorced and then we remarried some time later, right? A few years later. So during that time, I went to visit a friend of my parents and my uncles and aunts. And this guy his name is Miguel, they call him Lito. So he used to read, and I don't know if he still does it. He should be in his 70s now, late 70s. He used to read the Egyptian tarot. And I went looking for guidance. I didn't know what to do. I felt lost. It's like I had I had lost my path. I didn't know what I was going to do in life. I was confused. I was 24. So he was telling me, you have this card. and this card means your personality. And he said in one of the cards, this card means the Son of God. That's not news. We're all the Son of God. So we're all the children of God. And he said, no, you don't understand. This card means that you have something to do in this life, something important to do in this life. I was not paying attention to that. I didn't believe in missions, and I was worried about something else. But when time passed by, I understood what he meant, because I was receiving the same message through other people. And even during some time where the company that I used to work for was laying off people, right? One psychic told me, they're not going to let you go. You are leaving because you're going to resign, because you're going to be doing this, you're going to be teaching. You came to be a teacher, and this is your purpose. What are you talking about? And I see you're going to be traveling, and so forget it. I'm focused on not losing my job. How can this person be telling me about teaching classes and traveling? You know? So in the end, that's in less than a year, what this last psychic said became true. All of it, you know, and it's not that I was looking for it. It just took place. I couldn't help it. It was part of my destiny, I guess. Yeah. But that's how I was receiving messages. And even when I started practicing hypnosis, whenever my clients had a connection with a deceased loved one, for example, they would give a message to me. Sometimes spirit guides would show up, and some of them would give me a beautiful message. Some of them would just pull my ear saying, you're not doing it right. This is not the way to do it. You need to do it more for love. What do you mean? What do you mean do this with love? Until sometime later I understood. And once I understood that what we do during the session is with love, and even when teaching classes, it changed my sessions completely, and the energy and the results, obviously. It's in my book, and I actually talk about it there, because when this spirit told me, through my client, right, you need to do this more with love. What are you talking about? Are you talking about a discount? Are you talking about doing this for free? What do you mean love? I'm facilitating a session for a client. So when I started, even though I knew I wanted to help people, I always wanted to help people in different ways. I didn't understand what this soul was telling me about loving my clients. And then another spirit guide was telling me, you're forcing this. When I wanted to put my first class together, and this is on YouTube, actually. It's in Spanish, though. When this guide is telling me, you're forcing this. You're forcing this. It's not your job. What the guide meant is, this is not that you can create a business plan and you're going to put people together. And the spirit guide said, not everybody has the gift. Like, don't force it, right? And then I stopped it. I said, okay, I'm not going to force this class. I'm going to not talk about the class. But then a few months later, the first class came together by itself, and it was beautiful. So yeah, it was always the message about doing it with love and doing it from your heart, and just embrace your gift, you know.
Yeah. And what do you love about this concept of introspective hypnosis yourself? Like, take us through it a little bit, because I know some people watching this, they'll be like, okay, ooh, how does it look like?
Okay, so let's help them understand what introspective hypnosis is about, right? So introspective hypnosis focuses on helping people in what is happening to them now. And most of the time, what happens to people now are emotions and fears and traumas and unresolved businesses, and what also goes on entrapment. But for whatever reason, they manifest as symptoms, and the symptoms could be fear of speaking in public, or phobia of feeling trapped, or maybe you were mistreated, or maybe you were abused, or maybe when you were a little girl or a little boy, you were molested or you were raped. So all of those things that happen to us in our lives, when we don't deal with it, they manifest as physical symptoms. Now, we're talking about symptoms that do not have a medical explanation, because we do need doctors for many of the things that we have. I'm talking about these symptoms that do not make sense, right? That do not have a logical explanation. So as we're working with these symptoms, and we actually working with the soul. People say you're working with the mind. No, the mind is just in the brain. It's limited to this life. But when you work with the soul, you're working with the energy that has consciousness, that has intelligence, that had incarnated in, that has occupied previous bodies. So whatever symptom you may have now might not have originated in this life, but maybe in a previous life. So in other words, as we work around the symptom, sooner or later we're going to run into a past life. That's what happens. I mean, not all the time. It could be that the issue was a few years ago or during childhood, maybe maybe during the time in the womb, or even after you died in a past life. Post-mortem soul entrapment, that is what it's called. So what I like about introspective hypnosis is that it is very flexible. I'm able to adapt to what the session brings to us, because some other techniques focus so much on the structure. Oh, you need to follow these steps, you cannot deviate. So you make the session rigid. And some people, when they feel comfortable with what they learned, and it takes some time to learn a technique, don't take me wrong, then what they do is they make that technique a religion, and they disregard anything else that technique doesn't believe on, which in my opinion is a big mistake. So that's what I like. That it's very flexible. I'm able to deal with things that are happening now. And if that issue happened during the childhood, then you go to childhood. It's your soul that is going to take you to that memory. And we're going to work with that memory. If the issue started in the womb, then that's where we go. Is your client who's going to take us to different places? Yes, the idea is to kind of follow initial structure, but in the end, it's your client that is going to take you to different events, and you need to know how to apply the techniques that we use in introspective hypnosis. That's what I like about it. And the fact that we don't only help our clients, which are the incarnated spirits that come to see us. Sometimes they come with attached spirits, lost souls, and we need to help them too. That's what I like.
Yes, I really love that you're able to give that lost soul a voice. Because I know there are other ways of, spirit releasement, but in my opinion, this is one of the most powerful ones, because you can actually allow them to have a conversation.
Exactly.
And for them to tell you the story and to finish whatever is pending for them.
Right. They're attached because they're lost for whatever reason. Maybe some of them didn't realize that their body died, because the body dies, but life continues, right? The soul never dies. So they don't realize that their body died, maybe because of the way they died. Could be, I don't know, under anesthesia in an operating room, or maybe they were using drugs, a drug overdose, and when they realize they're in another dimension, they don't understand what is happening. So they attach to our clients and they're confused. So we're giving them, as you said, we're giving them a voice. We're helping them understand what happened to them. If they're looking for revenge, then maybe they had an issue with the client, which I call the host. Maybe in this life, maybe in a previous life, we help them finish that thing that is unfinished between them. And then we help them go to the light. So going back to my purpose, I think that is what my purpose is. When I assume, and that's what I feel, that when they said, okay, we need souls to reincarnate so that they can help our brothers and sisters that are lost on this third dimension, right? People will say, but why can't their guides help them? Why is it that other light beings cannot help them? Because they're they're vibrating at a very low frequency. They're attached to you. They don't see the light. So we need to help them from here. And once they see the light, you have a different team. So it's a team effort. You have a different team that takes over and takes them to the light. So yes, that's what I think is my mission, not only teaching and facilitating sessions, but helping these, as you said, souls that don't have a voice, that some other technique ignore. And some religious treat them as demons and maybe insult them and ask them to just go away without even understanding what happened to them and what they need.
Yeah, that's really important. I love that you touched on that. It's not about shush, leave.
Right. We cannot do what we do through any, using any religion, and I respect all of them, but I cannot apply religion in what I do because my clients have different belief systems. So if a client that is Catholic comes to me, I'm not going to use terms from another religion because it's not part of their reality. What we do is we get into our client's reality to help them. You know, my idea is not to change them to my reality. I need to adapt to theirs.
Yeah, for sure. And to give people an example when it comes to lost souls, I'm gonna talk about this story that unfolded during my session with you.
Sure.
So I came to you when we talked about some things that I want to bring to the session. I said something, and I remember the way I phrased it. I said, every time I sit down and to work on my laptop computer, it feels like I'm rushing ahead of time because it seems like I'm gonna run out of time. So that was the key point that I remember that I said without really consciously realizing what it means. And then I said, I tend to have a lot of tech issues. Like my laptop starts heating up sometimes, even turning on Google Chrome, it's just like, it's crazy. Things switch off, and it's especially around the time when I need to work on something. I remember there was a very intense time during my study years when I was still studying architecture. I had a submission, and I had literally 20 minutes left for me to submit my work. And everything that could go wrong did go wrong. My tech, company's tech, uni's tech, it was awful. So I was struggling with it for as long as I remember. And that was something that I brought to the session. And the last memory that I went to was I started seeing like a screen in front of me, and a lot of programs would start closing off really quickly. And then you would navigate me through the session, and you asked me where I am next. And then I realized that I'm in my friend's house. We're having a girls' night out. And this was the memory of this life. That's what we used to do. And they were asking me to tell one of the stories. And you said, what is the story? I said, I don't really want to tell them that story because every time I do, something happens. And I did tell them that story. The stories they would be interested in is about spirits or what I used to see, and things that would happen with tech or electricity. And I told them that story. I remember we were in the living room and the lights started flickering. So they all ran to the kitchen, kind of laughing, kind of scared. And I was like, oh, I told you it's going to happen. And it did. And next thing we know, you told me to go a bit further. And I couldn't settle for one home. I was drawn in between two homes. One where I was raised and the other one where we moved to later on. And I kept being pushed and pulled towards those two. And you said to me, you asked, what is it that is calling you to the home where you grew up in? And straight away I said, a spirit. And that's where my grandpa passed away. He passed away in a corridor. He had a heart attack. And that's when I realized that all the tech problems were to do with my grandpa's spirit. He even said he was trying to finish some work through me because he couldn't stop working. He was leaving his little room where he had like an old architect's drawing board, and he literally fell to his face in a corridor. And that's how he passed away. So when you asked me, what is happening, I said, as a grandpa, I'm standing next to my dead body, but I was still so focused looking at the drawing room because there was so much work to do. And that's when I kind of started reflecting after the session. I said, every time I start working myself on something, it feels like I'm running out of time.
Out of time.
But it's not me who's running out of time.
Exactly. 3, 2, 1. You're there now. What is happening now?
I keep being pushed and pulled between two places.
Yes.
Two homes.
Yeah, tell me about it. Which two homes?
It's like one moment I'm in the house I grew up in, and the other time I'm in the next home we moved to.
Yes. So you're going to those two places at the same time?
Keep jumping back and forth and I can't settle.
Very good. So I want you to be in the house where you moved to. Stay there. But go back to your previous house. What's keeping you attached to that previous house where you lived before you moved? Walk around the house. What's attracting you? What's calling you from that house?
The spirit.
The spirit. Very good. So walk around the house and let me know once you find the spirit.
I see it clearly.
Mm-hmm.
It's always there.
How does it look?
At first it's black, but then I see it shift into a man who's dressed in smart clothes.
Very good. So let's talk to this man. Ask this man who he is.
He says, I know.
Mm-hmm. So if you know, tell me who he is.
It's my dad's dad.
It's your dad's dad, it's your grandpa. Mm-hmm. Very good. Ask your grandpa why he's there.
He couldn't find a way out.
He couldn't find the way out. Ask your grandpa if he knows what happened to his body. He's the one that died of a heart attack, right?
Yeah, it feels like he's still working.
Yes. So tell him, Grandpa, I have to tell you something, and explain to him what happened to his body. Explain to him that his body died. His spirit, the spirit never dies, but that his body died.
He keeps saying that he's addicted to working and there were so many things to do.
Mm-hmm.
He couldn't leave the project.
Couldn't leave the project. Ask your grandpa if I have permission to speak to him, please.
Yeah, he says it's been a long time.
It's been a long time. Since what? For what?
Since direct communication.
Oh, I see. Okay. So 3, 2, 1, Grandpa, thank you for the communication today. I understand you have some projects that you need to finish. Which projects are this?
It's the plans I'm working on.
The plans?
Yeah, I'm drawing up the plans.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Grandpa, I want you to go back to the moment you felt this pain in your chest. 3.
My heart beating now.
Yes. I want you to, do you feel this pain in your chest?
It's like the heart is about to jump.
Yes. I want you to feel that. And as you're feeling that, what happens next, Grandpa? What happens to your body?
It's very quiet.
It's very quiet. Now you let me know if you see your body down there below.
I'm standing next to it.
You're standing next to it. Do you understand what just happened? Does it make sense that you're standing next to your body?
Yeah, I keep looking to the room, my work room.
Yes, but look at the body. You're standing there in the workroom, but your body is on the floor. It doesn't make sense, does it?
Yes.
How can you be standing and laying down on the floor at the same time, right? So this is what happened, Grandpa. Your body just died. And you're a spirit. You never die. And the proof is that we're communicating now. The proof is that you still think you're working on the plans, even though those plans don't exist anymore. Nobody's in that house. The house doesn't belong to you.
Brigita has some of my stuff.
Yes, okay. But maybe she can look at it. Maybe she can continue those plans later. But it's time for you to go to the light. What's preventing you from going to the light?
The home.
The home. Mm-hmm. What about the home?
There is so much more I should have done.
Who says you cannot do it? You can go to the light and you're going to be born again. And you can continue working in other projects. But being a spirit, there's nothing you can do. Brigita is not in that home anymore. There's other people, right? And then,
Yes.
and then you're close to Brigita, and then your energy is making all these tech devices act up. So she's having an issue. She's not able to complete her work because her devices don't work properly, and that's because it is your energy. Even as we started visiting this event, the camera flickered for a moment, the one that we're using now. So it's causing problems. What is the purpose of you staying here, causing problems to Brigita? Unintentionally, but it's causing problems.
Feels like I could have done some work through her because she did the same for a while.
Yes. But now she's going to do something else. She's finding a different purpose now. So why don't you say goodbye to Brigita? Say goodbye to whoever's staying back and go to the light. And you can continue working on projects from there. There are many things that you can do in the light. This is not over. What would you like to do, Grandpa?
I think I'm okay with that.
You're okay with that? Is that correct? Yes. So now say bye to Brigita and remove your energy that is spinning around her head. It's causing problems. Brigita, say bye to your grandpa. You can tell him or ask him whatever. He's there. Exactly. So you see him. He's the one that was always bringing you then back to the house. Your soul, right? Because back to the house because the same. We have things to do, right? Yeah. It is important what you said, because one of the things that take time to understand while you're learning and practicing hypnosis is that time does not exist. Linear time, past, present, and future, is just a creation of the human brain to understand time. But the truth is that everything is happening now. And for the soul, everything is happening now. An example, you could have lived alive in Egypt 3,000 years ago where you were, I don't know, buried alive. But for your soul, that just took place. And if you were trapped in that experience because let's put it this way, you didn't die properly, right? It's called soul entrapment. That's still happening for you. So if you go to, you get into an elevator or you get into the metro, you're going to feel what you're feeling in that place where you're buried alive. So going back to your grandfather, he passed away of a heart attack, instant. So 1 minute you're alive, 1 minute you're dead. And some of these souls don't realize what happened to them. They don't understand and your grandpa said, "I'm looking," right? He said, "I'm looking at my body on the floor." Didn't he say that? That was your session, right?
He said that, yeah.
Right. So, okay. Does it make sense that you're looking at your body on the floor and then you're communicating with me? Do you understand what happened to you? Right. So for your grandpa thought he was still alive, he was still working, he had still things to do. And since he was close to you, when they get close to us, they transmit things to us through our aura. And that's what you were feeling. And I assume that the issues that you had with your devices was his energy close to you causing that.
And I'm trying to work on something.
How old are you there?
It feels quite recent.
Yes, very good. Continue. What happens next?
Like everything just stops working.
Everything stops working. Yes, like what? What stopped working?
Like I'm seeing a lot of programs shutting down one after another.
Programs from where?
Seems like it's on the screen.
On the screen?
Yeah, it's like on my laptop or...
Yes.
But the screen is much bigger than that.
What happens as the programs are shutting down?
Because I want everything to work normally.
Yes.
I get tense.
Have you had any other issues with your devices?
My computer is not heating up that much unless I turned on like 4 programs. Then it's normal for it to do so. But it's been very quiet. It's been very good so far.
Okay.
And during the session, it was my last memory I went to. My eyes were going so fast when we got into that memory. At one point, I kind of have opened and closed it, and I could see it as clear as day. The grandpa, I knew it was him. It was just like a shadow right next to where I was laying down. And since I couldn't, I didn't know what was happening on the tech side when we were talking. During the session, you even said, "Grandpa, I saw the screen go black. You causing these issues."
Yeah.
So everything ties in so nicely. And I went the next day. I visited my parents, and my dad was really close to his dad, but the grandpa passed away way before me. I wasn't even born. He passed away pretty young. And I was drinking tea and I was so curious because I know the exact layout of the flat where I grew up in. And I was just wondering, like, I never want to check, the sessions, whether something is true or not, because I take the healing part of it. But there was that urge, and I was like wondering, where was Grandpa's working room? And I didn't even have to ask that. My mom was the first one to say that to my dad. And she goes, "Oh, I'm just wondering, where was your dad's working room?" And he goes, "In the little room." And I was like, there are 3 rooms. He could have worked in any room, really. And I was like, do you know anything about, how he fell and things like that? Because I'm so sure I knew exactly everything. And he's like, "Yeah, he fell on his face in the kitchen." And that's exactly how I saw him. So there are things that I couldn't have known. It was him transmitting that information,
Interesting. Yeah. That's what happens. Now, we even talked about your career, right? Because you didn't meet your grandpa. He passed away before you were born. So I even asked you, I'm wondering why you chose to be an architect. He was close to you. He was bringing you back to his room, right?
Yeah.
I'm wondering why you chose to be an architect, for example, right?
Yeah. I think there was a nudge there. And my dad said, was there a lot of project that he left behind? He said, listen, he was helping students with their projects, and he was
Mhm.
also, he said it was around 30 or 40 projects that he left behind. So no
Oh,
wonder he
wow.
kept working, because he
Yeah.
was one of the most famous architects in this city of
Okay.
mine. So there was a lot to do, and he kept saying there's so much to do. There's so
Right.
much to do, right?
So, right. So we were talking about the symptoms, right? And how these symptoms do not make sense. You said one thing during the interview, which actually raised a red flag. I'm not going to tell you the other things that could be causing that symptom, but I decided to pay special attention and feel that I'm running out of time. That didn't make sense. You're not running out of time.
Yeah.
That's not you. Why would you feel that you're running out of time? That was coming from him. So that's a symptom. You see, as you're working around the symptom, as you're working through memories, you get to the root cause. What's causing it?
Yeah, and there was one more beautiful thing that was said there where I don't remember how he expressed himself, but he said it's been a while. And you asked what was that? And he said that I had a direct communication because I used to communicate with him, but just having that voice for him
Mhm.
and that
Mhm.
communication was super important.
Mhm.
And that's why I appreciate it so much for giving those lost souls a voice and for them to share and to understand what's
Yeah.
happening.
Yes. Yes. Well, this all started about lost souls and giving them a voice. Obviously, when I was watching Aurelio's videos, and then when I trained with him, actually shadowed him. He was not teaching classes. I was already practicing QHSC, but he was teaching classes. So I shadowed him for 38 sessions. We did 38 sessions in 6 days because he's well
Wow.
known in the Hispanic community. So a lot of people book sessions with him. But when he was gone already, and a week later, somebody booked a session with me, and it's a lady from Georgia that booked a session from with me, Georgia State, right? Booked a session with me and brought some relative with her. So as I was facilitating sessions, this spirit manifested. It was my first solo introspective hypnosis, actually the second solo introspective hypnosis, but my first solo interaction with the lost soul. And I felt calm, and I remember what I learned with Aurelio. So I gave this lost soul, this attachment, a voice. It manifested, if I'm not mistaken, it's session number 10 in my channel, my YouTube channel. So I gave that soul a voice who had manifested actually as a pain in her foot. And that soul called my client's aunt, who was waiting in the family room because I work from my home office. And to make the long story short, the soul was there to give a message to this lady saying, I'm sorry, I was killed. I didn't abandon you. The story was that this lost soul and my client's aunt were husband and wife in a previous life. He was killed maybe in old times, right? He was killed, and this woman thought that this guy had abandoned her and the kids, and
Wow.
that's what was preventing the spirit from going to the light. So he kept waiting for her, attached to her knees, and saw the opportunity to deliver the message. After he delivered the message, he was able to go to the light. What would have happened if we didn't give that lost soul a voice? People have to stay there waiting or lost or trying to sort things out. So it is very important, as you said, to give them a voice to understand what happened to them.
And Antonio, for you, since you didn't start working, you didn't start hypnosis with that knowledge and that experience, how to go about the lost souls. How was it for you when, in the first session, you were not taught that, but you came across a lost soul?
Well, I was running into things that didn't make sense during the session, but since I had not been trained, QHHT does not believe in lost souls. I was not even allowed to, because other people were talking about it. We were not even allowed to talk about that on the forum, the practitioners forum. So my clients were experiencing things and symptoms that didn't make sense, and I didn't know what it was. So that triggered me. When I started watching Aurelio's videos, then I noticed what he was doing. These lost souls were manifesting themselves through pain, or some mark would appear in in their face, or involuntary movements, data out of range, or answers to questions that didn't make sense out of context. So little things that I was allowing Aurelio to detect that those lost souls. So when I started facilitating my sessions, I picked up on those. Oh, okay, so maybe there is something here. Let me start applying what I had seen Aurelio do in his videos, and it was working. But yeah, when I was able to train with him, is that I got all the knowledge, and then with Jose Luis Cabuli. So that is the big difference in what we do, Brigita. You took the class, how that works, and that makes the biggest difference in what we do.
Yes.
Some people don't understand. Some people judge us for what we do. I lost friends. Oh, you're talking to spirits. This is occultism. I lost a good friend because, oh, you're practicing this now. I don't want to do anything with you. So we're misunderstood in what we do. Some others say only priests can do an exorcism, but I'm not doing an exorcism. I'm not throwing this lost soul. I'm not casting them away. It's like I'm helping them. I'm talking to them. I respect them. I love them. The love comes in place again. I love them, and they go.
Yeah, that's really important. Just a couple of days ago, I had a session with someone, and the whole session I had to spend only on entity because it caused so much throughout such a long period of time that it was just, and you could see how a person's attitude changes.
Yeah. Yes.
If I were talking to you and that spirit, it would be very different.
The expressions, the energy, the words, everything changes, and not every soul wants to be helped. If you want to put it that way, some of them don't want to talk to you. If they know you're new, they might play with you a little bit. They will use what we call the special effects, right? They will make noises and growl, and we don't pay attention to that. But after certain times, as you ask them questions, they really feel that you're there to help them, not to take them away. They open up. It takes time. One of the things that I learned actually with computers and networks was patience, trying to find the right path for communication between devices. I was applying the same thing with navigating past life, navigating memories, and patience, talking, communicating with these souls, because they cannot go at our pace. We go at their pace. If they're taking forever, then there we are. We need to just keep talking to them and be patient.
Yeah, that's very, very true. And now I know a couple of people watching this will want to go for your teachings. So, Antonio, how often are you planning during a year to do your classes and to allow people to come and learn with you?
Yeah, well, I already scheduled some of the classes that are coming for the rest of the rest of the year, but I plan to have classes like for next year. It's going to be like every 3 months, more or less. I prefer to do less classes because I'm also doing workshops. We're talking about soul entrapment. We're talking about healing the wounded feminine energy. And then I'm working on an advanced technique class that I'm going to advertise soon. So there's going to be opportunities if they go to my website. We have my website, antoniosanja.com.
I will link
if I want to put it there. Yeah. So they want to join one of the classes and learn what we do. It's a beautiful technique, not because I teach it. It's because I didn't invent anything. I'm using techniques that I learned from others, and those learn that technique from others. The thing here is that each of us are given these techniques our own energy, our own style, our own love, and is knowing how to combine all of this knowledge to help our clients, what makes the difference. So if you feel like this is what you want to do and you want to help other souls, register for one of the classes. It's not only going to change your clients' life, and I call them clients, I don't call them patients because I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not even a clinical hypnotherapist, because I don't want to follow protocols and scripts and have the session rigid. But it's going to also help. It's going to help you change your life. I'm not the same person that I was when I started doing this. I healed my own things through my clients because we're going to be triggered during the sessions with our own stuff. So it's beautiful. I'm very happy and I feel blessed for having the opportunity of practicing this type of hypnosis.
Yeah, for sure. I remember when I was taking classes with you, there were people, students, who would get triggered by certain things,
Right.
and the symptoms would come up even in the class. And you were so good, you would put these people kind of on the spot and say, "Hey, we're doing a hypnosis session on you right now because
Hmm.
something is coming up." And
Right.
such beautiful stories would happen, and the healing would take place. And honestly,
Yes.
like these classes, as you said, it's not only that you're going to be helping others, it felt like I healed parts of myself throughout those 6 days.
Yes.
And you're in such a safe space with people who also want to learn the same like you, and everyone is so open because
Yes.
you experience hypnosis on one another as well, and you
Right.
have to put all cards on a table, and it becomes such a trusting safe space because you look after us too. And it's just, I
Mhm.
don't know. After I finished those classes, that whole course, I was like, I needed some time because I needed to let everything to sink in.
Hmm.
And when
Hmm.
it did, I just didn't want to stop practicing because every single session with a person, it's it's almost like sacred. That's the way I could put it.
Yes, exactly. That's how I see it. This is a sacred technique because people are coming and they open our souls to us, saying, please help me. It's a soul asking for help. And that's what we're doing. It's a sacred moment. That's the way I see it. And that's why um, I'm changing things now and a little bit of the structure of the class because I want to attract the right people, people that come with the right intentions, right? Because in this field of hypnosis, you can do two things, Brigita. You can be a storyteller, a researcher, or if you want to call it that way, even though we're not, you can do healing, but it's not that we heal our clients, we help them heal themselves, right? So if you just want to do past life regressions and find information about past lives and understand who you were, that's fine. But if you want to use that as therapy and to help this all understand what happened, what lessons are pending, what symptoms are being brought from that life, what lessons are being brought from that life, what relationships were pending from this life, you can do therapy on this soul and give an understanding, and that's what healing takes place. So yes, I that's what I like in the classes, and I'm glad that you had that experience. That's what I try to project, and things happen in the classes. When I created the class, when I created the structure, I didn't envision that. All I said is, okay, how do I put into words and steps what I learned from Aurelio? Because Aurelio didn't say, oh, this is step number one, step number two, this is how to do an interview, this is how to do an induction. He was not explaining any of that. He was explaining me the reasoning behind the techniques only, right? So I put everything in place, but then I noticed that as days were passing by and as we were doing these short exercises, these symptoms were coming to the surface. And by the last day, we were ready to address those symptoms in practice sessions. It has been happening in every single class. So people say, oh, I healed this, I healed that, or I got this understanding, I got triggered. So it happens. I don't know how to explain it, but I'm sure at all times we're being guided by light beings because if you took this class, Brigida, and you're practicing hypnosis, this is what you came to do. This is if not your mission, part of your mission, and we need to accept it, we need to embrace it, and we need to respect it.
Since you started talking about things coming up in classes, right? I have
Mhm.
noticed that some things start coming up for the client even prior, way prior to their session.
Yes.
So I'd say just notice, take note, acknowledge that it's there. Because for me, even before being connected to you through Leo, I started having certain dreams that didn't make sense to me because it was a repetitive dream that I haven't had before. So
Hmm.
I used to have my repetitive dreams, and some stuff were coming up regarding children. And I was like, I don't know what this is. It's a small child. I would dream of it, and I don't know if it's mine, if it's future child, if it's past child, and I couldn't make sense of it. And I remember I was meditating one day, sitting down, just being still, And I saw a spirit of a child right in front of me, and it opened its arms and showing me, signaling, open your arms. And I was like, I don't know, okay. So with my eyes closed, I opened my arms, and it went straight into my belly, almost like with that hug, you know? It went straight
Okay.
into my belly. And I have no idea, I started bawling, crying so much. And I don't cry very often. So for me, that
Okay.
was something really, really important. And in the session that I had with you,
Okay.
there was a attachment to my belly, like umbilical
Right.
cord, and
Yes, I
that's
remember.
where that child came up. But I haven't even thought of that story at least a couple of weeks prior to this session, you know. But it
Okay.
started way before for me.
Yeah, we started working with that, and then you came up with the explanation.
Yeah,
I feel right. You felt and you understood the connection of that energy with you,
yeah,
and you were also getting emotional. So yes, all these things take place, but everything took place because you decided to be open and be guided through the process and keep an open mind. So you flow with the whole session. So it was beautiful to watch. Yes.
yeah. That's for sure. And whatever comes up in the session, sometimes Antonio or me might be asking one thing, but sometimes some other stuff is coming up. I say just
Yes.
speak up, because for me, when I was releasing that spirit of a child, I kept saying honey in my head, and I'm like, why am I saying honey when I'm releasing the spirit?
Yeah.
And then it hit me so bad. It was that sense of motherhood, that this is my child, that something
Mm-hmm.
isn't finished, we got to talk about this.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, that's when I started crying. I think this is my child, and this
Mm-hmm.
child died because of me in the past life. And I came to
Yeah.
you with a lot of guilt. I said, I give you an example. I said, Antonio, you know, as if I borrowed a pen from someone, and
Yeah.
if I broke it by accident, and I phrased it like that, I'd feel as if I killed someone.
Yeah. And to me that symptom didn't make sense. You see, I feel guilt all the time. Have you done? No, I don't know, but I feel it. So that symptom doesn't have a logical explanation, but it was coming from there, for example. You see?
Yeah, yeah, awesome. So you are working on second book right now.
Yes, yes. The Spanish version is already published in Amazon. I am working on the translation to English. So
And what is
Spanish is my
the
native language, so I write in Spanish first.
and what is the name of it in Spanish?
In Spanish is Guiando a las Almas Perdidas, which translates to Guiding Lost Souls. It's helping spirits go back to the light through hypnosis. So I explain the concept of these souls and energy and lost souls, and I kind of explain how we deal with them. And I put there a lot of cases. I change the names of my clients. A few of them allow me to use their names. But I basically explain what we do and how we do it, why we do it, and how to help these lost souls. The reason why I decided to write that book is because I was referring people taking the class to other books. Read about this from this author, and the information is really good, but don't pay attention to the part where this person talks about demons and evil. And because I don't believe in any of that. I don't believe in evil, Satan, hell. Haven't found any of that in years. Neither has Aurelio with over 30 years of experience, and Jose Luis Cabuli either. So I said, okay, who can come out with a book that can help others that are learning this? Because a lot of people want to learn how to work with spirits, and that's for a lot of people, that's the main motivation why they take the class. And I said, okay, I need to write about this. I need to write about this and create kind of a manual or a guide, and I don't know what you want to call it. And that is why I wrote that book, because not everybody is going to be able to take my class, but hey, maybe they can. If you're practicing hypnosis and you want to understand what we do, read that book. It has a lot of information, um, and I'm sure a lot of people would benefit, and a lot of lost souls will benefit from that if you learn that.
Yeah, I'll link both of your books down below.
In the spirit world, right? There's no right or wrong, bad or good, and there's no evil. So I see There are no good and bad spirits. There are spirits more evolved than others. There's a different level of evolution. So let me put it this way, right? Let's say that you were a bad, they're gonna call it bad person in this life, right? Even though there's no good and bad, I don't see it that way. And once you die, I don't know, you feel guilty about it, and then you say, I'm so sorry that I make all these mistakes. According to religion, if you repent, right, and you ask for forgiveness, you can go to heaven, for example, right? Now, if you have somebody that doesn't know about anything about religion, that doesn't know anything about karma, was born in a geographical location that doesn't know anything about this, and what they do is kind of the normal, and treating people this way or killing people, or are you going to judge that soul that didn't have the knowledge? Are you going to send them to hell forever, because it was killing people, didn't know? So in other words, how can we judge spirits for not knowing? There are different levels of evolution. One is if the spirit if you know you're doing wrong, then yeah, there's karma, which I take it as the law of balance. You're going to experience what you make others experience, is cause and effect, right? But if you don't know what you're doing, and how can people judge you? How can other souls judge you and send you to hell? That's the way I see it. So it's different levels of evolution. I don't see good and bad and evil, because in the end, everything is about learning. This planet is a school called Planet Earth, and we come here to learn, and we come here to learn in which we cannot in the spirit world, which is through emotions, right? Once you have incarnated, you feel pain, you feel fear, you feel hate, you feel love. So you learn in suffering, but you also learn in love. So this is a school.
Yeah. So it's very much about balance, and it's about, I think, that idea of victim and the offender. You already know what I'm going to be talking about, so I'd just like you to expand on this.
Right. We play different roles in our lives. We have the victim, we have the offender, as you called it, and we have the observer, and we play different roles, right? And we're affected by all of them. So when people come to see us, most of the time, they come because they feel victims. They're in the victim role. And actually, that is the most difficult thing to accomplish during a session, is to make our clients understand that there are no victims. And they realize that during the session. But when you feel a victim, even if you were molested, raped, or maybe your parents did something to you, if you feel like a victim, we need to remember that every victim has been an offender before. Let me give you an example. In one of the classes, there was a demo session. These volunteers, a female volunteer, for the demo session, started the session, and we navigated, I don't know, three or four memories. In each of those memories, she had been molested during childhood. By the third or fourth memory, she could not take it anymore. And while in a trance, she screamed, "Not again, why me?" Right? She was feeling a victim. I said, okay, let's find out why you. I'm going to count from 5 to 1. And I want you to look for a past life where you might have done something similar, right? Or anything that had triggered this for you now. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. She went to the life of a soldier. She was, back then, was a man, described the uniform, the battlefield, the emotions. He was hungry, he was lonely. He even talked about this war doesn't make any sense. But then he started describing how he was getting into these houses and raping women. And as he was raping these women, I was asking questions, and you could see that he didn't care. He says, yes, I'm sorry that she's screaming, crying, she's asking me to go, but I need to do this. It's been so long since I didn't have a woman with me. And she was doing the same thing, one after the other one. Law of balance. Now it's her chance to experience what he made in that life others experienced. So there's no good and bad. You see, so going again, is this a bad or spirit or a good spirit? No, because if this spirit only knew that whatever you're doing to somebody, you're going to experience yourself later in life, you would not do it. So it's not good and bad. We're just ignorant of things. How can we be judged for that?
I really like the example you gave, I think in previous video, where you used this example of taking off on a plane and coming back to see if
Yes.
you're completing
Okay.
the mission. Would you like to expand on that?
Absolutely. Sure. So that is the example I use to every time I want to explain a concept, I try to think of an example, an easy way to understand, right? So when people ask me, what is a life between life session, right? That's a session that is focused for the soul. Every session is for the soul, but is to understand your eternal identity, who you really are as a soul. You right now, your name is Brigita, but Brigita is the name of this body with this ego incorporated, and that's the name that your parents gave you. But in the spirit world, your name could be XYZ, whatever. Shania could be your name in the spirit world. It's a different name. Sometimes it's a vibration, a sound, doesn't matter. So in order to understand why is it that we are reincarnating and what happens in the spirit world, I was given the example of a firefighter. It's one of these pilots, war pilots, right? They get on a plane and they fly a mission and they throw bombs and take pictures and they do reconnaissance, whatever. They go back to the base and then they have a debriefing. Okay, let's see which of the objective you accomplished, which of your goals you accomplished. Okay, you did this. You were not able to take this picture. You were not able to do this. So the following day, you get on another plane and you fly another mission with other things also to accomplish, to complete. You come back to the base and do a debriefing. Okay, great. You accomplished this, but this time you missed this. So the following day, you get another plane, fly a mission, come back, and so on and so forth. I want you to think of the pilot as your soul. You are the one flying the plane. And I want you to think of the bodies as the planes. So right now, when I'm flying a plane, model Antonio, and I'm going to accomplish my mission. Once I go back to the spirit world, I'm going to get a debriefing. Okay, Antonio, you were supposed to learn these lessons. You were supposed to do this, and this was your mission. Let's see what you accomplished. Okay, you did great here. You did okay here. In this other aspect, not so good. Okay, no problem. You have another chance, so you're going to get another body. You're going to plan lessons. You're going to choose the body that best suits that lesson. You're going to this time make agreements with members of your group or other groups to be your wife or to be your parents, and this is what you're going to experience. And through that experience, you're going to learn such and such lesson. And that's what we're doing. We're coming back, and then going back to base and coming back, and we're learning. We're completing our objectives. Our soul is experiencing, it's learning, it's evolving.
Yeah.
That's the way I see it.
And you said something, I believe, during the class. You said something along the lines of, we didn't come here to be happy, we came here to learn. So the more you enjoy learning or challenges, the happier you'll be. And I think a lot of people have an issue with that, especially these days, looking at pictures of everyone, in perfect places, perfectly dressed. And the society, kind of pressuring you to feel happy. Why not feeling happy?
And to get likes.
And to get likes. And I think that was a very powerful sentence for me. Sometimes I would write down quotes, even from the class. And you also said something along the lines where, in order to better understand why you're given a lesson like this or why this has happened to you, kind of think back what your soul might have thought around the time.
To learn, yes.
Yeah. And what will you be learning with this experience? I believe you were talking with guys from the Black Pill channel, if I'm correct.
Okay, yes.
Where you talked about this, and I really like the example of, let me track back and let me see. By getting, for example, this dysfunctional family, what my soul thought at that time that I need to learn with this.
Yeah, so some people might not understand when we say this, and some people might get upset. But it's like you going to school being a kid, Okay, some people like schools because they want to learn and they want to experience things and interact with the teacher and classmates. Some kids don't want to go to school and they will find any opportunity to try and skip school. So this is a school. The way I see it is that we didn't come here to be happy, because happiness is, if you get it, it's going to be very short, because it not only depends on you, it depends also on people around you. You can be happy and then something happens to your father, something happens to your mother, or I don't know, let's say you have a brother and your brother gets in drugs. Right now you're not happy, you're worried about your brother. So the happiness doesn't depend on you. So we don't come here to be happy, we come here to learn. And that's the biggest problem for people, and why they get frustrated, because they try so hard to have money, to have material things, and to be happy, and you're not getting it because that's not what you came here for. You came here to learn, and you can learn in love, which is beautiful, but you also learn in suffering, and suffering is an amplifier for learning. The lessons that I learned the best and the most profound lessons for me were the ones that I learned when I suffered. So who's going to enjoy being in this school? The ones that enjoy learning, that enjoy the challenges. Then they're the ones that will be happy, if you want to say that is happiness. So another thing is, like, people ask themselves, why me? Why am I going through this? Why? Oh my God, I've had bad luck with my parents. With my parents, I went through hell. They mistreated me. They ignored me. I felt abandoned. And you complain to the victim role, right? But here's the news. We choose our parents based on the things we need to learn. So it is not coincidence that you were born in that family. You chose to be born in that family for a specific reason. You can complain forever. You're not going to accomplish anything. But if you stop and say, okay, let's assume for a moment that my soul, my spirit, planned this lesson for me, that I actually chose. If you don't believe in this, that I actually chose my parents. What was I supposed to learn from this? And here's the clue. We start by experiencing the opposite of what we're here to learn, what we're here for, to learn. The opposite. What is the opposite to being mistreated and abandonment and, is I don't know, self-love and even more challenging when you have your kids. How do you give them love when you didn't get it at home? You don't know what love is. You were treated this way, you felt abandoned, and now you need to give that love and give that nourishment to your kids. So I see that's a lesson. And when you see life from that point of view, it changes completely for you. And the trick is not to run away from the lessons, because there's no running away. You run away from the lesson, that lesson is going to chase you, and it's going to come back to you disguised as another person or another situation. Embrace it. A book that is really good for this is Your Soul's Plan by Robert Schwartz. A very good book about pre-birth planning. So embrace the lesson, embrace what you have to learn, face it, allow your souls to experience. If it's loss, if it's sadness, if it's fear, experience it. Once you learn that session is going to disappear from your radar, but get ready, because there's another one coming. This is a school, right?
Yes.
That's the way I see it.
Realizing and acknowledging those patterns, it's quite simple as we know ourselves, to know what we struggle with, and just kind of go with it.
Right. We talked about during class and how we conduct our interviews, and people don't realize when they're telling us about their lives. But you saw how we can detect a pattern, something that is happening over and over in different times in their lives, through different people, different situations, even if they move to a different country. When there's a pattern in your life, pay attention. That means that there's something that you need to learn from that.
This journey starts in the womb already. Journey of a soul. Would you like to expand on this a little bit?
Yes, absolutely. So one aspect of our lives that is not taken into consideration when we go to, let's say, a psychologist or a psychiatrist, or if you, I don't know, go to a specific hypnosis, using a specific, any hypnosis technique, is our time in the womb. because we're really affected. And in a way, we're programmed by everything that happens to us in the womb. Why? Because while we're in the womb, we're inside our mother's vibratory field, right? We're affected with everything she feels, she thinks, she says. We're affected by everything that is happening around her. If she's being mistreated, if our father is abusing her, if, I don't know, if our grandparents are telling her, I told you not to get pregnant, you should get an abortion, right? And depending on the culture, maybe that woman was born in a culture where women are there, let's say, to just obey men or please men. So anyway, but all of that is taking place with your mom and around your mom, it affects you. And remember that your mom has her own traumas, her own fear, phobias, her own pending issues, lessons, right, to learn in this life, her own soul entrapment, things from other lives. And you're inside of her. You're being affected by all of that. Here's the thing. At that moment, we are not able to separate. We're not able to understand who belongs to us. What belongs to us and what belongs to her. We feel all of that as ours. When we're born, we forget about it. But everything is in the subconscious mind already. We have it already been programmed by what took place during the womb. An example could be, let's say, right, that your mother was pregnant with you, and you're going to be a girl, right? And you hear your father saying, "Oh, I want this one to be a boy. I want this one to be a boy." So, but I would not know what I would do if this one is not a boy. And then you're going to be a girl. How is that going to affect you? How is it going to affect your soul? I know I'm going to be a girl, so I need to do, when I'm born, I'm going to do whatever it takes to please my father because I need to make it up to him, So once you're born, you start this pattern of pleasing people, Or maybe your mother saying, I think I'm going to abort this baby. I'm going to abort this baby. And you say, I'm not even going to move from here. I don't want them to realize I'm here because I can be killed. And when you're born, that is the type of behavior that you're going to have in life. You don't want to have any confrontation. You don't want to be close to people. You're afraid for your life. And what happened is that you may use emotions that didn't belong to you in the first place. So that's some of the things that happen in the womb.
Yeah, I'm gonna share a story as well. This is not emotionally connected. I didn't dig that deep into it, but as an example of my mother when she was pregnant with my brother. She said one of the scariest moments when she was pregnant with him was she saw a burning house, and in that house, someone that she knew lived in. And she got terrified, and she said, I started screaming and I touched my belly, and it was just like, it's a lot. My brother was born with, it seems like a birthmark, but it's in the shape of a fire flame on his chest.
You see? Okay. You see?
And she said, the moment I saw that, I knew exactly what that is connected to.
Right. I see. Yeah, a lot of things can happen, even once you're born. If I don't know, if they gave your mother general anesthesia, right? You're born and you don't feel your mother. And you hear your mother talking to you and they take you away. Some babies are thinking, some souls are thinking, oh, just kill my mother. They feeling this guilt, this fear, or they were not able to receive the first hug from the mother as they were holding them. They feel the separation. So a lot of things, the way you're born. If it was just natural delivery, if it was a C-section, all of that affects us, believe it or not.
Yeah, that's for sure. Thank you for sharing and talking about this.
No problem.
Now, people who will want to go and learn from you, would you like to just kind of condense it a little bit more? What can people expect to learn from you, even though I know it's on your website, in Introspective Hypnosis?
Well, number one, get ready because it's intense. You experience this. I enjoy talking. You can tell. I enjoy talking. So I'll be sharing a lot of information during the class. And yes, I record sections, so not the whole class, sections of the class, but I give a manual. So what are you going to learn? I divided introspective hypnosis in 6 steps, starting with the induction. It started with the interview, right? The right way to interview somebody. An interview is just not asking for the name and what is it that you want to get during the session and what are your questions. There's a lot of things that take place during the interview. Even I will say that the induction starts during the interview, establishing rapport, asking the right questions, getting the phrases that they might be coming from another experience, getting the symptoms that do not make sense. So all of those things happen during the interview. And I will say that a successful session depends on a successful interview, because we're going to be taking our notes, how to take the notes, what I'm going to write down about. Those notes are going to act as a GPS. So that's the interview. And then you'll learn how to do inductions, So people say, okay, no, but I can just read a piece of paper and do my induction. Well, no, not in what we do. You'll get the scripts, but I'm against scripts, because if you read, you're not paying attention to what is happening to your client. Before you even finish your induction, your client might be experiencing things already, because you're making the script rigid. Because your client will feel that you're reading to them and they might feel disrespected. So not one induction works for everybody. You need to understand what type of client you have in front of you. And I'll show you how to do some tests to determine if your client is visual, if your client is kinesthetic, if your client is, left brain, like tries to analyze everything. So you're going to learn different inductions, and you learn how to use the induction that is best for your client, not for you. Right? Also, the induction that works best for online sessions. And then we're going to start step number 3. We're going to navigate memories. And in this case, we're going to navigate sad memories. And I encourage my clients to navigate sad memories, because number one, I don't think our clients are coming to us to tell us how happy they are in their lives, right? Their sad memories are related and associated to these emotions they're feeling. So they're going to go to these events, and we're going to start applying techniques. And as we do that, they're going to start going deeper into a trance, and they're going to start experiencing different things. And once we navigate a few memories, and as we work with the symptoms, because we're using our notes, right? What we wrote down during the interview as a GPS. We're going to start also finding the origin of certain things or certain symptoms that, again, do not make sense, or relationship issues, you name it. We're going to be working with that. And yes, in that step of working with the origins, I explain how to do a regular and standard past life regression. If there's anything such as a standard past life regression, how to do a past life regression, and how to use a past life regression with introspective hypnosis. One thing is to take somebody through past life regression, like steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. But when clients in our session go to a past life, most of the time they go to the moment they're dying, because that symptom they have could be associated with the agony of that body. So what do we do then? You see? So you're going to learn all of that. You're also going to learn how to help lost souls, how to detect them, how to communicate with them, how to help them. And at the end, obviously, we're going to learn how to bring our clients out of the trance properly. There's different ways on which you can do this, but it's very important to know what you're doing when you're taking clients to past lives or memories, because if you don't know what you're doing, they can bring some of the symptoms they were feeling back then in those lives, in those bodies, to this life. So all about that, and I explain a little bit of the technology that we use and how to do online sessions. I also talk about the mentoring group, which is a small fee. This is $10 a month, and then we get together on Zoom once. You're not forced to join that, but we get together on Zoom for 3.5 hours, depends, once a month. And then I give you access to a platform where you can ask questions, so we help each other, and then you connect with others that are member of the mentoring group, and you can keep practicing. So support is there. Do you have ongoing support? This is what you really want to do, right? So as I said, this technique is not about finding who you were in a past life or if you were from other planets. It's not here to use the session as an oracle, ask questions like, I want to know if I should move to another country, if I'm going to marry. No, we're here, we're helping, as you said, this is a sacred technique. You're helping a soul overcome issues. And with the entrapment of the soul in past lives, in the womb, or even after the time they're dying in a past life. So it's beautiful. I mean, it's not because I teach it. I really enjoy this technique, and the feedback that I get from people is that they're experiencing the same.
Yeah, that's for sure. And the extended support you have after the classes are finished, I think it's so amazing. Not only that you're going to have your own colleagues, students to go back to practice with, but you also have a group of people who have had a class with you some time ago, right?
Right. So you have people at different levels.
Yeah.
But the good thing with the mentoring group is whoever is there is because they really want to practice. They really want to keep learning. And when we get together, they're bringing questions about things that they found in their sessions, right? And as I answer to those questions, everybody learns. So we all keep learning during that time. And people committed with the technique, and you're going to find others really to help you. If you're a new student and you just finished, hey, can I have a practice session with one of you? People say, yeah, I'm available. Let's do this. And that's how we help each other. So it's been working beautifully. I'm really happy about that group. And that's something that people were asking for. If you could do mentoring, so I put everybody together. So another thing that we're doing is that when there's a new class that just finished, I give them like a couple of weeks to review the material, to allow everything to sink in, and then I put them together to practice. So I bring people from the mentoring group to the people that finished the class 2 weeks ago, and we all practice, and that way we keep evolving.
That's amazing.
I have a class actually coming. It starts next Saturday, if I'm not mistaken. It's on the let me check my calendar. It's on the 22nd. Hold on. It's on the 22nd. We start 6 days.
Okay. Awesome. And now for the workshops, can anyone join your workshop?
Anybody can join the workshop. In the workshop, things that happen, right? I explain a concept. 2 workshops I've been facilitating is number 1, soul entrapment. I explain the concept of soul entrapment and what can cause the symptoms and how to deal with it, just for an hour. And then I give, 30 minutes for questions, so people ask questions. But then what I do is I ask for volunteers. So I write down the names, and I put all those names in a paper in a bag, and then I start calling names. And then you witness live online sessions, right? And you get to see what happens. So last time I was able to facilitate 4 sessions. We get breaks after each session, and then we have like a 30-minute lunch break, right? But you get to see what people experience. As you watch this, you're going to get triggered by all of these things. You're going to also get something out of that. And that is a comment that I get from people that attended these workshops. I was able to get this. I was able to heal this, and I had this pending issue. And by listening to what you were saying or witnessing what the volunteers were experiencing in the session, they were able to accomplish these changes. So the last 2 were actually they were sold out. I'm grateful for that. The next one is coming on, which is healing the wounded feminine energy.
I think a lot of people will be interested in this.
Yeah, it's on the 29th. That one is on the, no, hold on. It's not the 29th. This is in June. Is on the June 19th. June 19th.
Okay.
That is the one that is the one that is more popular, if you want to call it that way. People really liked it. I liked it, and a lot of people experienced things during those hours together. It was beautiful.
Awesome. And now, in case someone watching this have like an additional question now you haven't covered here today, are you able to give your email? Do you have time to respond to people?
Absolutely. Sure, sure. You can you can email me at info@antoniosanjo.com.
I'll put
For
it
my
down
name
below
and my
as well.
last name, put it down. Or if you go to my website, there is a contact form, and then you put all your information, and I reply to you if you have any questions, any doubts, if you have questions about the classes or the workshops. Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
And Antonio also has the YouTube channel that I'm also going to be linking down below. I
Mhm.
think it's very beneficial to watch some sessions that you have done, and you have my session on your channel as
Is
well if
there?
anyone's
Yes.
interested to look at the whole story, how that unfolded. I think it's very eye-opening to see how everything unfolds and how it connects towards the end.
Yes, thank you. As I said, the channel was there not to promote me, but to bring awareness, so people understand that some of the things that they're experiencing might be coming from, I don't know, time in the womb, past lives, or attachments, right? Lost souls. And I can talk about whatever. I can tell you whatever today in this interview. I can write about my book and say whatever I want. But right there, it's not me saying it. It's my clients experiencing it. So go check. I'm sure you're going to find useful information on how you can apply that to your life.
Sure. Thank you very much, Antonio, for coming on here and spending
Thank
some
you.
time with me. It was a
Thank you. It's been a
pleasure.
pleasure.
Same. And we'll talk maybe in the future. I'm pretty sure I'm going to see you again in one of the workshops. And until then,
Sure. Thank you. Thank you very much, Brigita. It's been a pleasure.
bye for now.
Bye.